Hi, my name is Nico Ortiz. I'm a clinical mental health counselor. I've been working in therapy and counseling for the past 9 years. Um, Over here at Survivor's Path, we're going to be talking about trauma informed care. For our first video, I wanted us to go over different types of therapy. The goal of this is for people to be able to look back at it and see what type of methodology works best for them. So, before we jump into all these different types of therapy, it's important to note that we can't limit ourselves to whatever preconceived notions we have about therapy or what mental health is supposed to look like. Therapy is not meant to be a cookie cutter approach, one size fits all. Now, as we delve deeper into these therapeutic orientations, it's important to note that while research has shown that some therapeutic orientations or techniques are more effective to address specific challenges, the greatest predictor of success is a good client-therapist relationship. If you don't like your therapist, it's kind of hard to talk to them. So the different theoretical orientations we're going to be going over today is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, the worst. DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, person-centered, solution-focused, narrative, acceptance and commitment therapy, and finally, existentialism. The best. So, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It pretty much does what it says on the tin. Change in thought patterns, cognition, will lead to change in behavior. This therapy doesn't require people to delve deeply into any emotional distress. This form of therapy is more for organizing, reframing, restructuring thoughts. The focus of CBT is to use a variety of techniques which have been shown to be effective across a variety of issues, but use these techniques to reduce symptom presentation or symptom frequency by changing those thoughts and behavior. So again, CBT doesn't delve too deeply into the emotional aspect, but research has shown that it is effective and its techniques are effective in reducing symptom presentation and symptom frequency. Although I absolutely hate CBT, I'm gonna use their techniques to help my client. Next up, we have DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. This is an extension of CBT. Think of it as like a cousin or a branch. DBT was actually created by Dr. Linehan. I hope I'm saying that right. And Dr. Linehan actually experienced borderline personality disorder. And she developed DBT to help people with similar struggles. This is the gold standard for borderline personality disorder. If you have BPD, you will be experiencing or exposed to some form of DBT. But we found that DBT is helpful not just for borderline, but across a wide range of issues, primarily focusing on regulating internal thoughts and feelings. You're going to find a lot of quotes, rules, mantras, and acronyms in DBT. The main idea of that theoretical orientation is to take in a person's emotional mind, feel those emotions at an appropriate level, to take their cognitive, logical mind, and then be able to combine these two things to be in a what they call wise mind. And in this wise mind, we're better able to enjoy successful relationships, less likely to act out. Next, we have person-centered therapy. A person-centered therapy kind of blew up in the 1950s thanks to Carl Rogers, and person-centered introduced this new concept that blew people's minds. Ready? Unconditional positive regard towards clients. In the 50s, being nice to a client? Holy shit. That was mind-blowing. Now, person-centered therapy is a key component, a key ingredient to many a different type of theoretical orientation and is practically standard. So while hearing me say person-centered is about being nice and being non-judgmental sounds like, I hope that would be the basics. Yeah. And it wasn't. So person-centered has a very significant place in therapeutic practices. The goal for person-centered is more to allow space for a client to reach self-actualization, simply being the best version of themselves that they can be. Techniques tend to give away to experiences. There's not so much different techniques in person-centered as there are different ways to experience creative outlets to form thoughts, emotions. So we've seen things like art therapy, music therapy, and narrative therapy evolve from person-centered therapy. So again, while being nice to clients seems pretty basic, it definitely has an important place in the history of therapy. Next, we have solution-focused. Solution-focused does pretty much what it says on the tin, a structured or rigid form of therapy. If you're looking for something more along the lines of your therapist creates a 5-step process to achieve your goals and obtain better mental health. And you go in week 1, you develop those 5 steps, you come back week 2, and you're complaining to your therapist about step 2, but you haven't done step 1, a solution-focused therapist, they're going to be like, why are we here if you haven't done step 1? What is going on here? Go back, do step 1, and then we can talk about step 2. So it's very helpful for people to stay on track. It's very helpful for people who need that extra structure or that rigid form to, again, stay on track. Much of this therapy is focusing on moving past perceived failures, especially past failures. With solution focused, you'll find a therapist focusing more on the exceptions when it comes to things that you've failed on. If you're like, man, I really wish I would have went to the gym 5 days this week. A solution-focused therapist might say, okay, but you did go to the gym 3 days this week. Let's look at what happened during those 3 days to see how we can mimic it and get it to where maybe next week we'll work out 4 days and maybe we can work our way up to 5. So again, solution-focused therapy, looking for exceptions, very structured, and it's also typically short-termed. So solution-focused, very structured, very rigid, predictable outcomes. Let's move on. Narrative. Narrative therapy is about the stories we tell ourselves. Narrative therapy includes techniques such as journaling, dream journaling, writing your story. If you are Batman, who's your Joker? Who's your Robin? Who's your Catwoman? It helps clients to step outside of themselves, to depersonalize the problem, and allows for greater self-empathy, a greater understanding of the self. That depersonalizing the problem is a very important part of narrative therapy. It no longer is when I get depressed. Instead, with narrative, we would change that to when depression comes to me. And then we would describe, what does that depression feel like? Does it feel slow? Does it feel cumbersome? Does it feel quick? And when it does take over, what does that feel like? And then now we have this narrative that we can use to say, how do we safeguard you from depression? So again, like I said, depersonalizing the problem, greater self-empathy, greater understanding of self. We're essentially trying to take clients outside of themselves so they can be able to more objectively see what's going on and give them an opportunity to be creative in their solutions. Next, we got acceptance and commitment therapy. Acceptance and commitment therapy, otherwise known as ACT, focuses on accepting things that have happened and moving forward with those experiences, committing to a future. When someone tells me, Nico, I've gotten over my trauma, all of that stuff is in the past, that hurts. You are your experiences. Something that I greatly appreciate about ACT is it acknowledges that we can never make the past better. We can never change the trauma that you have experienced, but we can redefine it, create meaning, and commit to a future where we're allowed to lead that meaning or to lead with that meaning. So I greatly appreciate just the how grounding that feels. ACT has elements of DBT, CBT, and exposure therapy. I like ACT. I hate CBT. I hate exposure therapy. It's a complicated relation. Lastly, we have existentialism. Existentialism is a little hard to describe as a theoretical orientation. It's more like a therapeutic philosophy. It has a few assumptions that we use to forward our growth. So the first assumption is there is no inherent meaning to anything. If you have a higher power, if you believe that your higher power has a plan and a greater meaning outside of ourselves, I hate to let you know, you ain't gonna be figuring it out. So, life might as well be meaningless. None of us are free from suffering. Any person born into this world is going to experience suffering and death. Which leads to the next thing, we are all gonna die someday. If you didn't know, now you do. Finally, last assumption is we are alone in life. You feel like you're lonely because you are. Unless you have twins, unless you have like a twin brother, you were probably born into this world alone, and you will probably leave this world alone. We use these assumptions to forward our purpose, our meaning, our authentic selves, because there is no inherent meaning to the world. That makes the meaning that I put in that much more important. Because I am alone, that means that the relationships that I forge are that much more precious. Because time is finite, that means my time is valuable. And how I choose to spend that time shows what meaning and purpose I put into the world. So, existentialism encourages us to have the courage to be our authentic selves. It's typically helpful for those people who are experiencing existential crises or may even be close to dying themselves. So, choosing what's right. How to choose the right therapy style for you is an ongoing discussion between you, your therapist, and your support system. Growth is not comfortable. You may feel uncomfortable. You will feel uncomfortable in therapy. If you are doing the work, you're gonna feel uncomfortable. So these techniques, these theories, they're not meant to make you feel comfortable. When we are uncomfortable is when we grow. These theories and techniques are just meant to be tools to your healing journey. A good client-therapist relationship, I feel like, is able to morph or be flexible, change direction as needed to better fit that client's healing process. I like to think about this as trying to find the right guide and create the right map that is worthy of your journey. Anyway, that is our video for today. Thank you for sticking around to the end. Like, share, comment below if you have any other topics that you wish we would discuss. And that being said, peace out. Thank you.